Hi, welcome to Born to Liberate on the Voluntary Virtues Network. I am your host, Marcel Fontaine, and and the topics I'm going to talk about today is what led me to voluntarism and this latest bill that is going through in the California legislature now is that you'll probably need to have verbal or written permission could be required for college sex. Now let me get started on how I became a voluntarist. Um, um, I think I would always say that I was always um, kind of cynical about stuff here and there. I think when it actually came about stuff, I always was kind of cynical. Um, I I remember I remember when I was just in fifth grade that I started to become a lot more within the paranormal and stuff like that. Like I was very into UFOs and ghosts and stuff like that. I came across the Area 51, and I heard that this was actually very secret to the public. So I was kind of a little questioning here and there. Like I was questioning, why is it secretive? Why is it this being covered up? So I went with all my research and stuff like that, um, and I was like, wow. I mean, they're really covering up aliens, but this is when I was in fifth grade and stuff like that. So things have changed then, but but then a government official actually came to one of our schools, I think, for an assembly, and I actually actually rose up my hand and said, "Do you know anything about Area 51? Mom, Mom, do you know what they're hiding there?" And I was saying, they were saying well, I have nothing to do with that, so they didn't really, mom, they didn't really, explain. So when I was in middle school, I would say, I didn't, I wasn't really too familiar with what's going on then. I mean, I know what some people were oh my gosh, Bush was such an evil president. I wasn't necessarily understanding why though. I never really understood why. And then one of my teachers actually told me that the war that we were going through was actually unconstitutional. And I was like, really? This is actually an unconstitutional war? And he said, yes, it is. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know. And then I just still was quite naive, and I didn't know anything about politics. I mean, it was especially in third grade when I was in third grade and in 2001 and 9/11 happened. I did not know anything what was going on. I just I just saw two burning buildings on the television, and that's just about it. But I never really knew what was going on. I never knew that I never knew what was going on. So and then and then when I reached high school, I was I was starting to become a little bit more rebellious here and there. I started to I was actually in RTC, which is the Reserve Officer Training Corps within the my high school programs for all 4 years of my high school career. And um, and then like I started becoming a little more rebellious. I like didn't want to cut my hair and stuff like that. Like I was just like, you know what, I don't care what you guys were actually gonna do. So I was like, I was not gonna cut my hair. So that kind of started a little bit here and there, and then in my sophomore year I started listening to metal and stuff like that. I was like, very much into like metal. I was a really big metal head, and then my junior year I actually discovered Marilyn Manson. He actually led me to the idea that don't be afraid to be yourself. Do not be afraid to be weird. Do not be afraid to be, to be yourself. Do not be afraid to question. Don't be afraid to actually, to actually question everything. And then, like, that was actually one of my main inspirations that actually got me into individualism was actually Marilyn Manson, because he actually told me to be myself, to be an individual versus versus a sheep. So I was like I was like in that stage where I didn't know what political belief I was. Like I thought I was supposed to be I thought I was supposed to be a liberal or something like that. So I went towards more of the socialist roots, and I I and then like I didn't know anything about economics, because I was like very much like ignorant of the whole entire ideal of economics. I mean, public school doesn't really do too well with teaching economics, so they didn't really teach me too much about it. So I looked it up myself, um, and during my senior year, I looked up economics way before way after my senior year, but then I came I came across my senior year. Unfortunately, I believe that most people actually got through this route through him, and it was actually Alex Jones. I was a conspiratard. No offense to the other conspiracy theorists if you're watching this, but I used to believe in conspiracy theories. Like I believed in the Illuminati. I believed in that there is this new world order and stuff like that. Like I believed that, and um, and then that led me to say like, maybe I should check out the Constitution and see what it actually says. And then once I looked at the Constitution, I was like, oh my gosh, these our rights are actually being defiled every single day. Like I know, I've read the Bill of Rights. I know what my rights are, and I just and then once I looked at the Patriot Act, I looked at the faults of the Bush administration, and what's going on in the Obama administration when he took office in 2009. I just I never really liked Obama from the beginning anyway. I actually I actually even as a socialist, I didn't even liked Obama, because he was a corporatist shill, so I didn't really like him for that. but but then but then once I got into the Constitution, I started to become a little more right-winged, and I see what's going on in this world, and I started to Google the news. I started to see because I was on the cusp of 18, so I wanted to do my rightful duty to vote and stuff like that. So I checked up on it and see the politics and stuff, and that actually gave me a lot more interest in it. And um, and then once I found Alex Jones, I found Jesse Ventura. He was like oh my gosh, I loved him and stuff like that. So I I got into them, and then um, once that actually happened, and so with that, I got into Ron Paul, and I was like on the Ron Paul campaign in 2011, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy was so amazing. He was going to change this, he was going to change that, he was going to eliminate the IRS, he was going to eliminate the Federal Reserve, he was going to cut $1 trillion out of the budget year one, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy was for me. I like this guy is a really true revolutionary. And then like I actually like took those like super brochures that were actually like distributed out in the whole entire country. I took those and actually distributed all over the strip near my house, a really big shopping strip, which is Connecticut Avenue. I actually um, I actually did that, and I was like so psyched and so like that and all, and then like once I saw like the RNC, it was like the RNC that day was like a a football gathering or something like that. I was like rooting on the Ron Paul delegates. I was like, oh my gosh, go Ron Paul, go Ron Paul, and I was like, and then once I heard that Mitt Romney actually won the nomination, I was like, oh, to hell with this. I am not going to. I'm not gonna back him. I'm not gonna support him. And then I went to Gary Johnson because honestly, who really liked Obama and Mitt Romney in the first place anyway? But like but he but once I went to Gary Johnson, and I actually like I I I went around his name. I bubbled in his name in the 2012 election, and then like once I heard that Obama won again a presidency, I was like utterly devastated. I didn't know I was like and then like I started to see some of my friends on I started to get like um into more about economics. I started to read on the Fed. I started to read Mises. I started to read Hayek. I started to read Rothbard. I started to read Basquiat. I started to read a lot of like I started to read a lot of more philosophers from those perspectives. And once I actually like once I actually did that, like, and once I actually saw some posts on Facebook and so like that about anarchism and anarcho-capitalism, I was like, wow, this is actually real. And then like I was I was open to it. I was open to it for a little bit, and then and then what and then like I started to read on it. I was like said like what let me go to Anarchy NYC and see like real true anarchists and so like that and voluntarists. And once I went to that, I met Larkin Rose. I've met Adam Kokesh. I've met I met Stefan Molyneux. I've met I've met who else did I meet? I also met the owner of this network, Michael Shanklin, and thank you very much for having me on. I and I also met a lot more. I met like Robert Murphy. I've met so many people over there, and once I met real true anarchists, like I actually I started to to be a lot more humbling with the idea. So that actually sealed the deal. Oh yeah, I also met Christopher Cantwell, and I met Antonio Buehler there as well. But that's just a whole entire other discussion. But but yeah, like that is when I actually officially started to become a lot more within anarcho-capitalism and voluntarism, and because I do believe that we should have like a more freer, more voluntary society where all things are voluntary, not necessarily by the force of government and not by force, fraud, or coercion. And um, and once I went through that, I started to read a lot more. I read a lot more after that, and I was like, and now I'm actually starting to understand a lot more within, what anarchism is, what voluntarism is, what anarcho-capitalism is. Like, I'm starting to read a lot more Rothbard, starting to read a lot more Mises, starting to read a lot more um, um, other works like Henry David Thoreau. Um, and once I'm actually doing that, I'm actually like saying like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing philosophy. Why aren't more people anarchists? Why aren't people more voluntarists? And I basically and now I'm on and now since I'm here, um I have just like I'm just so amazed that I actually got the chance to actually be on this network, and I thank you, Michael Shanklin, for making me on this network. I needed to I needed to spread the message as well. So like I mean I'm even talking to some of my other folks and at my college and stuff like that, and talking to them about voluntarism and seeing like how and seeing how a libertarian voluntarist anarchist society would actually be not just in theory but in practice. We could actually practice this theory, and um, and it's just so amazing that I'm actually on here. And thank you very much. Um, Now let me get back. Let me get to today's topic. And today's topic, um, there's a bill going around in the California's legislature that's and this is from the LA Weekly. It says verbal or written permission could be required for college sex, and this is by Dennis Romero on the LA Weekly, and um, and it states within the article, you're in the heat of the moment, rounding third, but then you must stop and ask, can I have your verbal or written consent to have sex with you? Sounds quite unspontaneous, but a law co-authored by LA State Senator Kevin De Leon would have state-run college campuses establish a affirmative consent standard for its students. According to the language of the bill, SB 967, students who want to have sex must essentially established that there has been an affirmative, unambiguous, and conscious decision by each participant and to engage in mutually agreed upon sexual activity. In fact, the legislation says, it is the responsibility of the person who wants to engage in it or initiating in the sexual activity to ensure that he or she has the consent of the other person to engage in the sexual activity. Lack of protest or resistance does not mean consent, nor does silence mean consent. No more making sexy faces and sounds for you. You gotta verbalize or get it on paper. A representative for De Leon says that the University of California system, as well as other noted institutions around the nation, has already adopted a similar policy. And she emphasized that this was just one aspect of a law aimed at challenging changing the culture of California campuses when it comes to sexual assault and harassment. The legislation, which has recently approved by the Senate, would also require state colleges and universities to establish standards for students or campus sex that has already existed under the California law. People accused of assault, or for an example, couldn't use being drunk as an excuse. It would be an assault to have sex with someone who's asleep, unconscious, or otherwise unable to give consent. De Leon's representative explains that while this is also part of a current law, campuses have their own systems of student discipline, and without expressly laying down the rules of colleges as well, some suspects could fall through the cracks, and victims could shy away. With this law, it would all be there in black and white for each and every state campus. They would have to abide. The bill appears to be a response in the last month's release of a U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights roster of 55 schools that face inquiries over their handling of the sexual assault reports. De Leon says, the federal government is currently investigating 55 colleges and universities. Obviously, there's a problem. SB 967 will change the equation so the system is not stacked against the survivors by establishing an affirmative consent policy to make it clear that only yes means yes. Bill co-authored Hannah Beth Jackson, a state senator from Santa Barbara, adds, events in Isla Vista confirm that misogyny exists on and around our campuses, and we need to confront it. This bill makes a strong statement that California is moving from a culture of acceptance to a no excuses culture, quote unquote. No excuses for rape, no excuses for blaming victims of rape, no excusing of supporting these victims, and no excusing for colleges and universities turning a blind eye to the problem of campus sexual assault and violence. That is the end of the article. And my critique is that that bill is not going to effectively stop sexual assault cases. Because if you really look at the language of the bill, it states that that it's only on-campus sex. What would happen if, let's say, that a couple wanted to have sex, and then they said like, oh shoot, we are on campus. So what are we gonna do? we need to have this written consent form in order to, have sex on this campus. I mean, like, what the? I mean, even the whole entire thing. I mean, like, shouldn't it be voluntary to make, like, if you want to have, like, those written consent things, if you want? I mean, like, you can just use it by text message. You can just, like, say, like, do you want to have, mom, mom, you could come over and sit, mom, you could just, like, text it saying, like, oh, I'm horny, do you want to have sex? And basically the responding partner would probably say yes or no, and basically they'll say fine, I'll just do this myself. Um, and that'll just be, a lot more peaceful, a lot more, not more, it'll be a lot less coercive. You don't need the force of government to actually say, like, you must be protected from your own damn self. So you must need to have, this consent form in order to you to have really, like, just basic consensual sex. But Um, but a couple could probably say, like, we could probably just go to a hotel or something like that. I mean, we don't have to have that written consent form. Um, that'll surely show them. But but yeah, like, and plus the whole entire bill is not gonna stop, sexual assaults. I mean, they're going to happen, and what should be the ultimate conclusion for, stopping sexual assault cases. Um, couldn't couldn't we just, like, get rid of those, California strict gun laws? Um, probably encourage, women to have guns on campus. That could probably stop a rape. Or, with even men too. Even men get raped and so like that. Like, um, shouldn't everyone be carrying guns on the campus? I mean, like, that'll actually stop rapes. I mean, like, because once the attacker comes to you and because, like, because, like, you can't necessarily trust police too much because um because when seconds matter, police are only just minutes away, or even hours, knowing now. So what are you gonna do at that very second once that rapist wants to rape you? You want to take control of that situation. You don't want to, you don't want to become another statistic. So why would you trust a government protection agency such as the police, at for if they're only minutes away, but these seconds matter. It's basically down to this very very second once a rape happens. It's not like, it's not like, wait a minute, rapist. Let me just call. I'm gonna call the police on you, and you do not rape me. Do not rape me. And basically, they're gonna rape you regardless, whether if you're gonna call 911 or not. So it's not necessarily an effective use to actually stop a rape. Um, that's why I like the phrase that a cult 1911 would actually do a lot more to women than liberal feminism. But yeah, like, but yeah, when seconds matter, if you have that weapon, you could just basically draw it and say, like, freeze. I'm definitely going. If you better get away from me now, or else I will shoot. You could definitely do that. I mean, like, you um Hold on, let me just turn on the light. But yeah, like, but yeah, you could, women could actually, protect themselves, by just like having just by just being armed and stuff like that. Um, Even just drawing the weapon um, would actually deter rapists a lot faster than say what these other liberal people are actually trying to promote, like say like um, they're trying to promote, like say like just puke on yourself or just urinate on yourself, but that's not going to deter the rapist. That's not going to be effective, because rape is all about power, and it's all about being dominant over that person. It's not necessarily someone just wants to have just casual sex. They just want to have a lot more dominance, and they just want to have a lot more control over the person. They just want to they just want the person to submit to them. Um, and what do you do with that aggressor? You you could you could just simply draw the weapon, and you could say like you have the count of three to get the hell off of me, or else I will shoot. 1, 2, 3, and if he doesn't get off of you, bam, he's dead. There's one less rapist in this world. Um, and it's all based, it's also, in accordance with the non-aggression principle, because, because like, you do not aggress against people who haven't aggressed against you, but once you actually once someone aggresses against you, you have every right to fight back. Um, and that's the whole entire ideal of the non-aggression principle, is that and especially in these situations, because you have an aggressor right there. What are you gonna you would have to you have to be in control of the situation, not necessarily you don't want to be another statistic. So um, yeah, like the California bill mandating college students just to get written consent forms is just completely preposterous, and it's going to be very it's not going to be effective, and it just only adds a lot more control over people versus actually having people as controlling themselves, because in the free society, um, you have a lot more um, responsibility over yourself. So you have the responsibility over your body, you have the responsibility of your property, you have the responsibility of your own individual liberty. So if you're aggressed against, and you it, um, you just have to take control of the situation. Um, just do not stand there and be a victim. Actually take control of the situation. Do not be a do, yeah, like you and um I have I have more to I have more time. Um, let me see. What else could I? So yeah, like, this bill is not going to, um, is not going to, let me actually get onto onto the sexual assault, the federal attention and so that how it actually is raising eyebrows within the federal government. It's they actually have another article by this by sexual assault at USC Occidental draw federal attention. It is an eyebrow-raising list of colleges nationwide that are under investigation of possible violations of federal law over the handling of sexual violence and harassment complaints. And two local schools are on it, USC and Occidental College. See, the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights today released the roster of, this is from May 1st, so this is quite, so this is kind of recent. The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights today released a roster of 55 schools that are face inquiries over their handling of the cases. The possible violations concern Title 10 of U.S. education law, which prohibits sexual discrimination and mandates that campuses adhere to strict guidelines about how to react to allegations of sexual assault. The investigation of Occidental is well known. The school sent us this statement. Occidental has cooperated fully with the Department of Education since its investigation was publicly announced in April 2013. The college has already taken a number of steps to ensure the safety of its students and is committed to spending more time, energy, and resources to fight sexual misconduct, report it accurately, and support survivors. The Department of Education says, in the past, department officials confirmed individual Title 10 investigations at institutions, but today's list is the first comprehensible look at which campuses are under review by OCR for possible violations of the law requirements around sexual violence. Some of the institutions include Arizona State University, Butte Glen Community College District, Occidental College, University of California, Berkeley, University of Southern California, Riggs University of Colorado, University of Colorado at Boulder, University of Colorado at Denver, University of Denver, and University of Connecticut in Connecticut. Federal education officials wanted to make clear that being on the list does not mean that schools in question are guilty. It simply means that the feds are looking into how they have handled things. Assistant Secretary of Civil Rights Catherine E. Lemon states, "We are making this list available in an effort to bring more transparency to our enforcement work and to foster better public awareness of civil rights. We hope to this increase in transparency will spur community dialogue and about this important issue. I will also make it clear that the college university appearance on this list and being subject to Title 10 investigation in no way indicates at this stage at the college or the university is violating or has violated the law. The purpose of the inquiries is to ensure that campus is in compliance with federal law, the Department of Education said, we reached out to the USC, but had yet to hear back. That's just the um, that's just the whole um, entire article. Um, the thing about Title 10, um, it basically grants that the federal government has, authority over, and remember, these are state colleges. These are actually state-ran colleges. They, they, they just don't really and that's actually one way to actually know that the state is ineffective of actually, handling their sexual assault cases. Um, and um, it's just also with Title 10, it also, forces, institutions like, colleges and, businesses and stuff like that, they have to, not to discriminate. But unfortunately, and the politically incorrect stance is that actually it could be fortunate though. It could be fortunate that businesses should be allowed to discriminate. I mean, that's the whole entire ideal of freedom. I mean, like, should I, should I have to be forced to? I mean, like, I'm an open homosexual, so why should I, allow a Westboro Baptist Church member to be in my business if they have something against me? Shouldn't I have the freedom to discriminate against them in order to um, in order to gain some business? Because like I think the ultimate response would probably be for a person of of anyone would probably be like yeah, the count of three to actually get out of my business. 1, 2, 3, and once they're not out, I would just kick them out in the curb. But but yeah, like um and and it shows that with that list, especially like of like how gun laws are actually in like Colorado, that gun laws do not necessarily work, and um, and that that if a rape happens and then you're on a state university, then you're just basically vulnerable, and you're just you're just another victim. But but if you're but if a private institution actually ran that, then they would have to be a lot more. They would have to have a lot more accountability. They would have to have a lot more within their own business to actually have the profit incentive to actually gain a lot more business and stuff like that. And these are all state institutions that were actually listed on the roster. And do you really think that that these state institutions are going to protect your children once they go away to college? I don't think so. They they have a horrible track record of actually like of like protecting your child when they're at school, especially when a gunman comes through and they are basically defenseless and they're basically they don't really have that protection. So it so if you go to a state university, you're kind of screwed. But even if you go to a state university where guns are actually like are a lot more lenient and so like that, even some people some on some state campuses do not allow guns on their campuses, and I'm a big time proponent of students for concealed carry, because like I feel because just recently I shot a gun for the first time, and it was amazing. And I know, and just by that one experience, and I know that you should have a lot more experience with it in order to actually gain some knowledge. But even with that one experience, I actually know that a gun is going to be a lot more effective tool to actually use for your own self-defense. I mean, I don't really understand, why, anti-gunners don't necessarily look at that, but it is. It's the most effective way to defend yourself, because a gun is an equalizer. As an equalizer, within the whole entire of each individual. If someone has if someone has a knife and you have a gun, you're gonna be a lot more you're gonna have a lot more defense to you than that person with a knife. It's a really great power equalizer. Um, and and if even if you have like a gun and someone else has a gun, it will determine which one actually could actually aim better, and one would actually and it'll actually determine which one will be a lot more efficient. Um, and and that'll actually be a lot more effective within your whole entire defense. And um, and I actually got to know people who actually openly carry, um, and I'm just like amazed, because like these these anti-gunners, like or these people who promote gun control, they're like all for people who they're all for like they they paint a picture that gun owners are just basically very weird and very psychotic and all that. But they're not. I mean, like I have met really sane gun owners that that they basically carry just because, and I have no problem with it. So so getting back to what I'm trying to say is that I don't really have a problem with my fellow students actually openly carrying within campus, or even concealed carry. I don't really have any problem with it, because like I know, just by that experience and just by being with gun owners that openly carry, I have a lot more I have a lot more confidence within my own fellow man than I actually do with a police officer, because a police officer, they just like um because it just makes them um because like most police officers nowadays, they're just like they're just basically killing people, and they're just like um they're just killing people left and right. And honestly, it does not necessarily make it a more peaceful and more prosperous society if we're actually having these people who actually claim that they actually here to protect and serve us, actually drawing their weapons and killing innocent people. I mean, like there was actually a study actually done that since 9/11, 5,000 Americans got killed by police officers since then. I mean, like, and that was actually more than the people who actually died in the World Trade Center. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just completely preposterous. Why should we continue this madness, um I just don't necessarily understand why we have to continue this. Doesn't necessarily make sense. Doesn't necessarily like make a nice freer, more safe society, because people could just well, could just yeah um and um and let me I don't know how should I finish this off. um I have 10 minutes left. And I um yeah, like I just don't necessarily understand what's the problem with people who are who are anti-gun. I mean, they um I mean, yeah. um well, that's I don't know about how I should finish this off. I have 10 minutes left. um let me see. Just just like, comment, subscribe to this channel. It's a really nice channel, and I'll give you the link in the description down below to the articles um, that I popped up, so you could look at the articles and see what it says, and and I'm going to sign off, and have a nice day, and I'm just born to liberate.